Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. As you know, I'm the father of two daughters. They're 10 and 8, and I love role models. I love to be able to present role models to them, and here is one before me. Her name is Kristie Hernandez. She is a senior at Scripps College. She is majoring in poli-sci and Latin American studies, and let's just say she has made an imprint on the world at the ripe old age of 20 or 21, whatever you are. You are the first recipient of the Scripps College Gabrielle Giffords Internship Grant in Public Service. I congratulate you. Talk to me about you and how you became so active in so many exciting areas.
Thank you for that introduction.
Sure.
It all started, I guess, back when I was 14 in high school, when I went to the first Communities for a Better Environment meeting, their youth chapter at my high school. And through that campaign, we were able to fight the construction of a power plant in our community. And I think that whole process of, door knocking and phone banking.
You got the bug.
Just seeing that it took 4 years for us to really fight back and win, but we won.
And
so
now
I think that really empowered me.
And I can tell you have the bug in the best sense. But what's interesting is you have focused on a few projects, but one specifically deals with daytime truancy laws. You are opposed to them. Intuitively, one would think those are a net positive, but you've expressed some real concerns about daytime truancy laws.
Right, and so through a course at Scripps College, I was, I established an internship connection with the Labor Community Strategy Center, which has a community rights campaign, and the focus of the CRC is to fight these daytime truancy laws because they see that over the span of 5 years, 54,000 tickets were issued. 82% of those tickets were issued to Black and Latino students, and most of those tickets were issued in South Los Angeles. So there's a geographic concentration in one of the most urban, most impoverished sectors of our county, but also there's a concentration in terms of who's receiving these racially. So we see, we're not pointing any fingers, we're not saying anything.
There's a disproportionate
impact, and it's being discretionarily applied without any community oversight. So what we're asking for is a complete elimination of this policy because we don't think that the solution to a problem is to criminalize students. We need to meet them at their level and ask them what's going on and how we can improve it. And we need to also look at the social implications and the setting in which these issues are happening. So yes, they're arriving late, but why? When we asked these students on the ground, we took surveys, most of them were saying, the bus wasn't coming on time. Or they had also parental responsibilities of dropping off a younger sibling and then hopping on another bus and getting on to theirs and coming on to school. So it's looking at, yes, they're late, but let's not assume that they're criminals. Let's not assume that they're doing it out of a bad intent.
So what's the response been?
The response has been, 6 years of campaigning and asking youth to join us the same way that I was organized through CBE. We're organizing youth through our youth chapter called Take Action, so that they're becoming the leaders in this struggle.
But again, intuitively, it feels as if you would want kids to get to school on time. You would want to make sure they're not cutting class. And so you have that barrier to jump over. Once you describe the challenge, it makes sense. I get it.
Right.
But how do you get past that first layer with these elected officials who want to be tough on crime, tough on truants, tough on kids not getting to class?
Well, I think part of it is if we look at the statistics and look at who's being affected by it, then those politicians, those lawmakers have to, confront the statistics and say, I'm okay with the fact that 82% of these tickets are going to Black and Latino students. That's fine by me. They have to confront the fact that these are being disproportionately applied and that they, by saying that that's okay, that they're assuming that it's okay to criminalize the population. So part of it is saying, are you okay with those facts? Are you okay with saying that we don't apply this law in Beverly Hills, that we don't apply this law in certain more affluent neighborhoods? And another part of it is they have that mentality, and I think it's very natural to fall into that logic of, well, we need to make sure kids are in school, and this is a good law, until you're there and you're seeing the faces that are impacted, until you're in the school and realize that by policing these students, we're not helping them.
So what's the next step for the campaign?
The campaign is, we've had a lot of success in actually transforming the law. So we've reset the parameters so that now students can't be ticketed within, the first 2 hours of school. They can't be ticketed within a 3-block radius. Now they have to be asked, why are you late to school? These minor, issues that before they should have been a common civil right. But now we're also expanding it so that our scope isn't just these truancy laws, because it's one issue that we think is really affecting our community, but it's also, one of many. So what we're looking at now is how else are we criminalizing youth of color? How else are we criminalizing working class students? and what can we do to help them out. So 2 other issues that they're addressing are zero tolerance disciplinary policies as it relates to disruptive behavior, which is discretionarily applied and defined by whoever's deciding it. So the majority of those tickets from a study conducted by the University of Indiana, their psychology department led by Russell Skiba, proves that in the majority of the cases, these tickets are going to African American youth. So we're looking at how are these tickets being discretionarily applied in a way that's not, firmly defined as being disruptive means doing X, Y, or Z specifically and only that. There's no regulations on that. And also we're looking at, why is it okay to apply these and in a criminalizing way instead of dealing with these, the way we used to, where maybe you go to the dean's office or maybe you go to the corner and you think about what you've done. Why is it okay to now hand this child over to a police officer who's going to handcuff them and give them a ticket? We need to create a different sort of not policing, but disciplinary policy that's not based on handcuffs or tickets, but rather based on community involvement and dealing with the child as if they were a person.
You're not done, though.
No.
You've decided that you also want to help what you call marginalized communities in Latin America. You've traveled to Bolivia, you've traveled to Argentina. As if Los Angeles doesn't have enough of its own problems, you're tackling international challenges. Tell me about your trips.
Right, and so the work with the Community Rights Campaign, really got me thinking about, how this government relates to these marginalized communities through laws and how democratic societies should be relating to, marginalized communities and social movements in a way that actively includes them in the discussion about policymaking instead of, incarcerating them or giving them tickets.
Are you saying that really we see the same exact policies being perpetuated in Latin America?
So they're not the exact same, and I'll get to that, but the same notion of how can we develop this notion? How can we keep exploring this idea of state and social movement relations? And so I was presented with the opportunity to conduct research and study in Bolivia and Argentina through Scripps College. And there I was able to examine how 12 years after the big revolt, after the Argentinian debt crisis, the social movements called the piqueteros, where are they now after 12 years, and how is the government relating to them specifically in northern Argentina, which is very impoverished? And what I saw was that material resources such as welfare to work programs or soup kitchens were being used to either maintain certain populations quiescent and say, here, have this food, but don't question my policy I just passed. Or, you're protesting because of the policy I just passed. I'm going to take away your soup kitchen for this week. So looking at, maybe it's not a truancy law, and maybe it's not even within the legal realm, but it is something that is being used to mediate this relationship between social movements and a democratic government. So how do we then, create a different sort of government, a different sort of social structure where that's not going to be an issue?
I'm rendered speechless by you. I'm not even sure what to say. I am so incredibly moved by your passion, your knowledge, your intelligence. What is next? You are graduating in the fall, or in the spring, I should say. Scripps College surely has prepared you well. What's next?
I'm applying to graduate school this fall, so I will be hearing back next semester from...
In what, for what, where?
I will be applying to a PhD program at about 15 different schools.
And you'll be a doctor of?
Political science or sociology.
So am I looking at a future congresswoman?
If so, she'll be a lot better trained than she is now.
I was going to say, no, but honestly, do you pursue a career in the political arena, or are you really looking more towards academia or think tanks?
I think my passion lies in bridging the world that I come from with the world of academia and the world of, political influence and control that I think we currently lack. So one thing that I really felt that started with CBE and continued with the CRC and continued in Latin America is that so many communities are fighting sorts of social justice issues but their voices aren't being heard. So I want to use my position through my doctoral studies to bridge their voices with academia, with policymakers, with the law, but also want to continue after that to continue bridging that in whatever way I can, whether that's in office, whether that's as a professor or as a think tank organizer.
You're remarkable. You're just remarkable. Her name is Kristie Hernandez. She is a senior at Scripps College. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Thanks for watching California Edition.